answer, if I might, to the site selection issues of the Managing Radioactive Waste Safety Programme, a topical one, and of course you've just completed a public consultation on the review of the siting process for a geological disposal facility. Now, of course, this was triggered by Cumbria County Council's opting out of the process of finding a repository, and that was attributed widely, and we talked to Professor Mackay about this in July, to the failure of the local communities to identify any benefits. So there wasn't a buy-in from local communities. The new programme, the government plans a public information sharing and discussion process. What's going to happen this time to make it more likely that communities will buy in?
Well, last time the two communities most directly affected did buy in, and they voted in favour of the scheme. The problem was that the county council, which of course contained members from the other side of the county who weren't directly affected, voted against it. And looking back on it now, I think that was extremely unfortunate. They did not have a direct interest in it, and they effectively were able to veto the project. What we're looking at now is making sure that that direct interest that the immediate local communities, the district councils concerned, should dominate the process. We should not allow it to be vetoed by some wider group that doesn't have a direct interest. But that's what we've been consulting. There are a number of options in the consultation process, and we need to see how we can learn from that aspect of it and give communities more confidence to engage in the process while still retaining the voluntarist principle. This should be for communities to step forward and want to host rather than government directing them to host.
But if the community level at which the discussion should take place is not to be the county council, why won't it include parish councils as opposed to the district councils? I mean, you've got to decide which is the host community and at what level you're going to involve the local community. Now, as I understand it, parish councillors are excluded because they're not elected, or some of them aren't elected. District councils, of course, don't have the facility normally to conduct the sort of debate which is needed on to what extent international guidelines on geological depositories are being met, to what extent engineered solutions are acceptable. These are sort of issues which need an informed debate, and it's unlikely, I would have thought, to happen unless you can structure the debate in such a way that people can participate in a way which is fully informed.
Well, I certainly agree with that, and that's been the purpose of the consultation, is to find a better way to have this community involvement and engagement, and to do so at the right level. Some parish councillors are, of course, simply co-opted onto the parish council. They're not directly elected. I think the district council is the best placed democratic body because of the impact on jobs and on the local economy. I think is best assessed at the district council level. Some counties are extremely large, and as I said before, there are parts of Cumbria County Council, for example, that simply wouldn't have been affected at all, had no direct interest in it. So my instinct is that the district council is the right level. But we have been, as you asked us to do, you would expect us to do, we have been consulting on this. That consultation is now closed, and we will now we will now publish our response and set out a way forward.
Now, isn't it going to be very important to define what you mean by a host community?
Yes,
and that surely, I mean, it shouldn't exclude, should it, all tiers of local government and indeed other community groups?
Well, it should certainly include community groups, of course, but I don't think it's right that at the county level, that a county should have a veto over a project. I want these decisions about hosting to properly engage the local community. I don't think some overarching local authority should have the right of veto. I think that's unfortunate.
Lord Winston.
I think, Minister, what you're saying is something which would touch on something that both Lord Jenkins and I would agree with very much. And I wonder whether you feel that one of the problems in nuclear has been consistent failure to engage the public in successive governments, and what this government might do to improve that public engagement, to make sure that many of the anxieties which local people have might be assuaged.
Well, as I said, that was one of the purposes of the consultation, and they are still thinking about that and still open to it, so we've not made any final decisions on that. But engaging the public more generally is one of the important work streams of the Nuclear Industry Council, because I don't think it's sufficient to rely on the current public acceptance of nuclear power. It's there in the opinion polls at the moment, but it's not necessarily secure or bedded in. Obviously, an accident that takes place abroad can affect it and so on. And I think the industry and government needs to continue to work with this to understand, help people to understand that nuclear power is clean and efficient and safe, provided it's properly regulated. So this is work that we need to keep returning to. At the moment, we're addressing this through the Nuclear Industry Council's work stream.
Lord Oxborough, Lord O'Neill will wait.
I mean, just a quick one, Mr. Recognising that all communities and nations are idiosyncratic in all sorts of ways, I wonder to what extent the department has looked at other European countries, particularly the Scandinavian countries, and how they manage this. And in fact, what you're describing as your preferred way forward is quite close to what happens in Finland, where there is a broad consultation. The government then has a sort of target area with which it would like to go forward, and the one group which can veto that, and it's a clear, uncontested veto, is the local community, more or less as you have suggested. So there's quite a lot of experience of doing this, and it's probably worth seeing whether there is any value in looking at that.
Well, I'll certainly do that. I haven't looked very closely at how other countries do this, so that's a very worthwhile suggestion. We haven't made a final decision on this. Obviously, we've just finished the consultation, and I was just sharing some thoughts with you as to what went wrong with the previous process and how we might improve it. And I am troubled by this issue of the veto, but we haven't come to conclusions on it.
What are you?
I think, Minister, that the two issues of research and the siting of this facility raise a problem of how far does government assume leadership and a sense of national priority, and whether it leaves it to the research community to put forward bids for money, or in this instance, the allocation of the identification of the site. It is a national priority, and it is something which at the end of the day you have to make a decision on. Now, I realise that we had hoped under the old system a decision was going to be made, but it seemed that the interest of bread and breakfast providers in other parts of England were of greater significance than finding a bed for nuclear waste. And I feel that at the end of the day, we can have any number of consultations, but the buck will stop with you. And I say in political fairness, as an opponent to you, your predecessors, my own party, were singularly inept at its handling of this. But you've got a chance now. You've got a groundswell of public support nationally behind the industry. If you want to realise that one of the biggest concerns that people have, a home for the waste, then I think you've really got to show some more leadership than this kind of getting close to it, but not too close. I think it would be a rather more aggressive approach. I know that's out of character for you, but